So I'm going to teach you guys just a bit more about what the VPM does. I've taught you one rule, which is you've got to get your membership up to be at least at the qualifying number by June 30th. And you can find those numbers on your dashboard. You can go to toastmasters.org and even just do search dashboards. It may give you the general dashboard of all the clubs in the world. We are in District 55. So you could go to District 55. Many of you are in, let's see, I think this is the Division I training. So some of you are from clubs in Division I. I see some of you are from some clubs in Division J. But all you have to do is just type in the name of your club and your dashboard comes up. And you'll find out how many points have you earned so far. It will even tell you what it takes to earn the next point for the DCP. You may say, we've got 3 people in your club who finished a level 1. You need 1 more to get a point. And so your dashboard is an important way of looking at your health of your club. It's like basically lab results about how healthy is your club. And once you learn how to read it, it becomes very easy. So if you guys can remember my name, Bart Loeser, you can see it here. If you will write in TM in front of my name, tmbartloeser@gmail. That is my email address. I'm also the Division K director, so I'm on the list of leaders, so it's easy to find out how to contact me, but you want to learn how to read your dashboard. That's very important for the VP of Education and the VP of Membership to know this on a regular basis. I'd say month to month, you need to know where are you in your dashboard. And this is a good time of year now that we're at mid-February to find out. So we'll talk a little bit more about what the officers do, but we're going to focus on what's your role as VPM, what are the responsibilities, and we're going to talk about the resources that are out there, because there's a lot of resources, and I don't want to overwhelm you guys because there's a lot out there. But I want to, those of you who have some experience, to share some of your knowledge as we go along as well. So first of all, we're going to focus on how to best identify what exactly is your role as Vice President of Membership. And believe it or not, you don't have to do all of this work, because it means calling your members constantly, checking in with them, staying on top of them. That's a lot of work. And there's many more responsibilities you have as the Vice President of Membership. But let me say that your job as VPM is to make sure all these things that we're going to talk about tonight are getting done. That doesn't mean you have to be the only one doing it. What's another option? Can you get help?
Yeah, I think you can ask your other officers to help out with that.
One is you could get help from other officers when you need it. And when is the best time to ask for help?
During the meetings.
So at the meetings, at the officer meetings, yeah. And Michael, how many, and I can't tell you, look, it looks like you're at a beach, and if you were really on the beach, if there was an elephant there on the beach, you'd have plenty of room. But I don't think you're actually in the beach, on the beach. You're probably in a little office like Graciela is. So Graciela, let me ask you, if you had a full-grown elephant in your office, just look around your office there, how do you get it out of there?
I need to probably I need to make that door wider.
You're going to have to tear down that wall. And I don't think you have tools like that in your office right now, right?
No.
So you've got a full-grown elephant in your office, probably knocking things over, probably panicking. It could possibly kill you. It's not a good thing. You never want a full-grown elephant in your little office. And yet you have one there. How do you get it out? Well, if you can't tear down the wall, there's really only one way to get it out. Who can tell me?
Ask for help.
Okay, you could ask for help. That's true. I would say it's a little late for that right now, but yeah, I would agree. Ask for help. I also might say the only way, Michael might have that idea, but tell me, Michael, what if you were to shoot the elephant and then cut it up into smaller pieces? Could you get it out then?
Sure.
It's the only way you really could do it. And sadly, the elephant's not going to like it. It's unpleasant. It's messy. PETA's probably going to be calling you. It's not a good thing, but it's the only way you're getting it out of there. But who here has another question on your mind at this point? Seems like...
How did the elephant get there in the first place?
That's a good question, Clara. How did the elephant get into Graciela's office? There's only one way.
He
Someone
grew
had
up there.
huh? What was that, Michael?
He grew up there.
Someone had to walk that elephant in there when it was a baby and allowed it to grow up into something that eventually got too big and out of control. How many of us wait until problems get that big before we ever reach out for help?
No.
Yeah.
So what am I saying you should do when you think you might be having problems like, I'm not sure how to grow our membership so that we have enough members by June 30th? When do you
Be
ask for help?
proactive months ahead of time.
Be proactive. Take care of this now. And there is no better proactive time to think about how many members your club has and whether or not they're going to be renewing in April and how many you're going to have by June 30th. You should be thinking about that now, not in May. It's almost too late then to fix the problem. So that's one of your roles, is to be aware of how are we going to do this? Do we have a plan for open houses? Are we going to have a contest to see who can bring in the most members? Are we getting all of our members to bring guests? How are we getting people here to find out about us? Do we have a newsletter? Do you have lots of guests coming to your meetings? If you do not, and you haven't been bringing in at least one new member every 6 weeks, your club is failing to meet those deadlines. And clubs lose about 40, actually, sadly, I will tell you, the reality is today with COVID and all the problems we face with clubs lose more than 50% of their members in 1 year. So Clara, if your club started with 19, you probably, if you didn't bring any new members, y'all would be down to 10 at the end of the year. And then of course, it only gets worse from there. So you have to constantly be thinking, how do we bring in new members? And it would be great to keep the other members, because wouldn't it be great if you could retain all the members you currently have? But people's lives change, work changes. I had a company that just got bought out, and they now have found out that 90% of their people that are in their Toastmasters club have been laid off. And they no longer even have access to the Toastmasters Club. That Toastmasters Club went from being fairly successful to probably failing by the end of this year and may not be able to survive this. But our job is to be proactive and have a plan for how we can keep ourselves successful. And some of you are with corporate clubs. Some of you are with the open clubs, as they say. Anybody can join. They have their different challenges. Your job is to find out how to best build your club. And you have other officers who can help you, but you also have other members in your club who are not officers. Clara, what are these other people doing who are not officers, other than coming to meetings? Are they helping out in other ways?
Not sure, honestly. They might take like small roles during the meeting, like a counter or something,
Mm-hmm.
but they can't. I don't think we don't really expect them doing much else.
Yeah, we don't have
Yes.
very high expectations of what our members who are not officers are doing. I want all of your members to think they have bigger roles in this club, because it is so cheap to be in Toastmasters. You could take a Dale Carnegie course for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 even, and learn these skills. But does it cost that much to be in Toastmasters?
No.
It's because we're all volunteers. None of us gets paid for this. And some of us, like myself, put at least 10, 15 hours a week into Toastmasters. And I don't get paid for any of that stuff. I do it because I love what I'm doing and I love having an impact on people. And I think for many of you who are officers, some of you may feel similarly. But everyone in your club should find a sense of responsibility for doing something to help to keep the club strong, which means you could have a vice president of membership, a VPM committee of people to help you with your work. Don't do it on your own, because Clara, is it true that you're going to be the vice president of membership after June's over?
Might switch to a new role. I've been here quite a while in this one,
Yes.
so I know our other
You don't need to
officers
keep
don't
doing
want to
it.
switch around. Yeah.
In Toastmasters, it's all about learning the role, but once you've learned it, it's not about being perfect at it. It's about moving on and learning a new role, which means you want someone who can take over the role, who can be successful. And wouldn't it be helpful if they had a little bit of training before they actually had to take it over?
That would be very helpful. Yes.
Yes. So you need some assistance. And you could turn to some of these new people who are not officers, because they're all busy, who could help you. So your job is just to make sure these things get done, but you don't have to do all this work. You could actually delegate this stuff to other people, including almost brand new Toastmasters. Say, hey, I could use your help. I'm working on an open house and I need someone who can make some calls and make sure they bring in guests or whatever. And you engage them, get them on your committee and teach them, what do you do as the VPM? So our job is to fulfill our responsibilities, but if you can delegate, how many of you sometimes feel a bit overwhelmed by how much you have to do as the VPM? That's a lot of work. So delegate some of this to other people. You don't need to be calling everybody and keeping up with everybody. Learn how to delegate that. And there are resources out here who can help you as well. So, and stop me if you have any questions as we go along, because there's so much to teach you guys and we don't have that much time. But the more you take these classes and the more you check out the resources, the more you're going to learn. I found a lot of tremendous resources about building clubs and being the VPM from old magazines, old Toastmasters magazines that are all online. And all you have to do is research topics, say Toastmasters and a topic. How do I do this? And you can find articles, ideas, lists of things that you can do that will help you to be successful. So many resources, it can be mind-boggling. So let's just talk a little bit about the role itself. You have three different areas where you use your skills. One is in the club meetings themselves. There's a role for the VPM in the club meetings. As a matter of fact, you want to make sure people are being welcomed, they're high energy, that we're having fun, that the members are having a great experience, because it will fall back on you if they are not having a great club experience. And I will say, I actually had someone in my club who, when I gave them some feedback because their speakers weren't working, and I gave them some feedback saying, because our word of the day was preparedness, I said, it might help if you prepare yourself before the meeting by getting on the meeting early and checking out your speakers to make sure they're working and troubleshoot that so that you don't have to worry about that in the meeting. Now, the way he took my feedback was, you just embarrassed me further. I've been humiliated in front of everybody, and he never showed up again. He's been gone now for 4 or 5 months. But then the question would be, whose job is it to follow up? If I'm not the VPM, whose job is it to follow up with this person and see what happened? Because he didn't say why he didn't come back. He just didn't come back because he was humiliated in the meeting by me. And he didn't say that. And of course, my intent was not to humiliate him. My intent was to give a good general evaluation. And I thought that was something that warranted saying. But I didn't point it out as if, it was a horrible mistake. It's just a learning opportunity. But how many of you have some people in your clubs who are members who are highly sensitive to feedback? So, yeah, and you got to be very careful about how you say certain things. And so the VPM's job is to check in with people about, how's it going? How do you feel about working on your next speeches? How's your experience been? What can we do to support you further? That would be the VPM's job. But if you had a committee of people, it'd be easier to keep up with all those club members, because Clara, 19 club members is a lot of people to keep up with, right?
Sure is.
So yeah, you have to have a system, maybe a spreadsheet with everybody's names on it. And when you've talked to them, how things are going, then you got to report back in your meetings to the other officers, how things are going with the members. And that's just how to retain members. Then you've got to bring in new members on top of it and get them oriented. So the second thing is outside the club meeting. This is where we're working outside, checking in with people, seeing how it's going, seeing what we can do to make them feel like they fit in more and that they're making progress and that this is worth their time and making time for it. Some of my clubs, they only meet twice a month. Who can't find 2 hours or 2.5 hours, let's say, out of a month to commit to Toastmasters if they joined? Is it really that hard that you let life get in the way of these meetings? Because I'll bet many people don't tell their bosses at work, look, I've got life getting in the way, so I can't go to this team meeting of ours. Well, it's every week at this time. You set that time aside if you want to meet your goals. But check with people if they're not showing up to meetings and find out what's going on, because you will lose them. If you haven't seen them in 2 months, the likelihood is they're not going to come back for some reason. And that's our responsibility to find that out. And if it's too much for you, then get somebody else to support you in getting that done. So, and then the last thing is the executive committee, where all of us officers get together, hopefully once every 6 weeks, or for some of the clubs that are really struggling, once a month, getting together with a plan for how we're going to build membership, keep people writing their speeches, delivering their speeches, and moving forward in pathways, keeping interesting meetings, keeping roles filled. We now do a lot of assignment of roles because so many of our members are, say, oh, I can take any role, just give me whatever role you want. They don't proactively choose roles. So perhaps we should just assign them so they know ahead of time, at least a week ahead of time, what role you're going to be playing in the next meeting, and you're expected to show up. You have a responsibility to your club. So, and that's something we can work with them, with the VPE on, to make sure it strengthens our clubs. So before the club meetings, we're going to talk about that, what you do upon arrival and during the club meetings. And you guys probably already know this stuff. You might want to make a list of the new members. Why is it important to have a sense of who's new?
To train them on their responsibilities within the club.
Yeah,
That's the
like,
thing
do
we're
they know
trying
how
to-
to play the role that they're going to be playing? Do they feel comfortable with that role? Do they have a mentor? Are we announcing the new members in the clubs and making them feel extra special for stepping into an uncomfortable situation, taking on a role for the first time? These are things that we want to know, because we can make them feel really good in a meeting if we're aware of this stuff. Now, the VP of Education could do this as well, so it doesn't have to be you. But since we're the Vice President of Membership, we know who the new members are. So we just got to make sure it gets done. The VPE could do that job, and maybe they have a VPE committee that does that. But recognizing our members, especially our newer members, to make them feel valued. Because how many of you would agree that when someone does not feel valued for what they're doing, they're going to be demotivated? It makes people want to quit. So you've got to constantly be making people feel valued, especially the new people. And once they've been in the club for several years, you don't have to work so hard to make people feel valued, although it's nice. But the new people need that. So have a few guest packets. And I know that's changed, and each club has different things that they may give to the guests. And some people do them all electronically now, which is great too. It doesn't have to be a physical guest package, but giving them something to let them know what to expect when they show up as a guest. And who do you think should be the first person to suggest that guest might want to join this month?
It-
Yeah,
VPM.
and show them
Okay.
how to do it. Walk them through the application. Just like the VPE or someone on their committee wants to walk them through how to choose a path and how to get ready for their icebreaker and how this education program works. That's what they do. Our job is to get people to sign on the dotted line. Because would y'all agree that a lot of people don't like to make decisions, usually, unless they're pushed just a little bit? Our
Yep.
job is to push them just a little bit. And I tell you, I contact people constantly who've been past guests. Until they tell me stop contacting me, I don't stop. I send them an email probably once every 6 weeks about upcoming meetings, how we'd love to see them again, or if they haven't come, we'd still love you to come to a meeting. If you're still interested, let us know. And contact former guests and former members. Because not only the ones who haven't been attending meetings, but how many of you have lost members who said they would come back? And then they almost never do. Although I've been lucky bringing people back into Toastmasters, but usually it's years after they left, not just months. So, and can anyone tell me what's the number one reason why people who intended to come back to Toastmasters don't?
Deprioritization. They didn't prioritize this enrichment of their. That's why I try to pass on that this is education. You learn
Yeah.
didn't learn something new today, you just wasted the day, so,
And Michael, if you get out of the habit, are you less likely to do something?
yes.
So you don't want people to get out of the habit of making time to come to meetings. So that's why if they've missed one meeting, I want to find out why they missed it and if they're planning on coming next and what role they'll be playing next, just to make sure they know how important they are to the club. You don't want them to just disappear, because what if someone misses 3, 4, 5 meetings and no one's even noticed? How valued do people feel?
That's true.
So, and it's our job to make sure somebody is doing that. If not their mentor, then it's got to be us or someone on our committee. So follow up, contact people. And by contact, you must get on the phone with them. Why is being on the phone so important versus an email?
It's more personable.
It's more personable. It's more connecting. How many of you would agree that today people ignore emails? They know if they get an email, they don't even have to look at it. And if they put it off long enough, where does that email end up?
Trash or spam.
It gets buried. Yeah, it's just buried under other emails. So if it's more than a few days old, it's gone. People are not going to see it because there's 100, 200 other emails now there in front of them. This is why connecting with them by text is ideal, and trying to ask them if we could have a few minutes on the phone to talk, because then that's a two-way conversation. Texting is not two-way, it's one-way. I send you a text, then I wait for you to respond, then you send me a one-way text, and then I read that, and then I try to respond. The chance of miscommunicating is extremely high with that. But if you're on the phone with people, you can hear how they take your message. You can sound like you care. You cannot do that in a text. There's not a good enough emoji out there that makes people feel warm and loved when you send an emoji, but you can sound like you care when you talk to people on the phone. So that personal connection is so important. Yes, it takes more time, but it has the biggest impact. So you must make time and find people on your team who are good at connecting with people on the phone, and have them be the people checking in with people, or at least their mentors. Any questions about that? Our job is to make sure, if not us, there's lots of people there greeting guests. I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in there in a Toastmasters meeting where at the beginning it seems like no one has acknowledged the new person that's just there, either online or in the room. So, and it's our job to make sure they've been welcomed warmly, and that they've gotten any questions answered, and that they feel welcome. They feel like they fit in. I've actually gone to clubs before as a guest and not been acknowledged until they start the meeting, and then say, "Oh, it looks like we have a guest here. Could you tell us who you are?" Shouldn't you have asked before the meeting started when I got there? But it didn't happen, and they made me feel completely unvalued. Like I didn't want to come back to that meeting again. It's like, wow, that was not pleasant. I just felt uncomfortable in the whole meeting. So provide, yes, packets, and answer whatever questions they might have, or find someone who can answer if you're too busy. Your job is just to make sure the job gets done. Meet with guests to answer questions. Even afterwards, you might want to check in with them, and not just send them an email, "Thanks for coming to the club," but say, "Hey, could I have 5 minutes of your time on the phone?" Connecting with people that way makes them feel more obligated to the club and to you. So an email creates no obligation. You just send them an email saying, "Hey, we loved having you at our meeting. Hope you come again." It just doesn't sound like we really care. And always invite guests to join the club. So are you thinking of joining? What do you think about our club? Why don't you try it out and join? And that way you can start in the program. And if you decide that you'd like to try out other clubs, you can always do that. You can move around from club to club. And once you're a Toastmaster, can you go to other Toastmasters meetings once you've joined a club? As Harrison says, yes. Can you give a speech in that club?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, with permission, you can progress on your pathways. Like, let's say you have a club that only meets twice a month, but you want to progress more quickly. And you can maybe give one speech a month, but you could go to other clubs, especially smaller ones, and say, "Hey, do you have an opening? Or I have a pocket speech. Would it be possible to give that speech since one of your speakers didn't show? And most clubs would be grateful to do it, and you get credit. So, but of course, make sure they're following their pathways projects as well, because you want to be able to get credit for that path. And help them complete the membership application, because I know it amazes me how many people look at that and they're confused about how it works. It's a little bit more simplified now that it's $60, because $60 over 6 months is $10 a month. So it makes it all a little bit simpler. But one question that people are not aware of is that, do they have to pay tax?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they actually do. But they don't pay tax on dues. They pay tax on the new membership fee. So it's not an expensive tax. It's $1.95 or $1.75 or something like that. But they will charge you for that. So you've got to take account. It's going to be, you know, whatever the tax is, 8.25% of the $20 new member fee. They don't pay tax on their dues. So that's true. And when they renew their dues, they don't pay taxes on that. But the new member fee is taxable, and that hopefully is on the membership application. I don't know if it's clear or not, but that's
I have a
something I didn't
question.
know. Yeah, Clara.
For the tax, a lot of times we're confused about whether the tax applies for where the club is located or from where the person is located. Like if
I
our
think
club
it's where the
is
person is located.
okay.
So I think that's how they determine it. So if the person is from another state, now that's a good question. So when you have a question that's technical, that I will say, well, that's a great one. I don't really know. I would say you can call Toastmasters International. They have all those answers. They've heard all these questions, and you can probably find it even on the FAQ page on Toastmasters International under membership. But you can also call them and say, hey, I want to talk to a membership person. So when I sign someone up and they're paying for the tax on the new member fee, how is that determined? So is it different from where they are? Does it depend on the club? Because now I'm thinking, well, it probably depends on where the club is. So that would make a difference too, because if you're doing it internationally, what if you're in a place from around someplace else in the world that doesn't have tax like this? Do they charge you tax? I would think, well, if your club is in the United States and you join that club, they're going to charge you tax. So, because that'd be like purchasing something in the United States, you're going to have to pay sales tax. So, well, if your state has sales tax, but many of them do. Great question, Clara, by the way.
Thank you.
Always call Toastmasters International if you don't get the answer you need. They've heard it all, and they have people there who are actually paid to answer questions. So this is paid staff. Other things you do in the meetings: conduct membership building programs. Create some there, and there's all sorts of membership building programs you can do. You can have contests, you can have open houses, but can anybody tell me what is the biggest failure of open houses? You can have all the great food and you've got all your members there and they're all friendly and warm. Why do most open houses fail?
If you don't give out cards, you don't give out information about joining, show them the visitor packet.
Well, Michael, let me ask you, have you ever been to an open house where you made all these plans to create this open house and worked hard to organize it, and then hardly no one showed who was a guest?
Of course.
That's the biggest failure of all. You need to have guests. That's the sign of a successful open house, is having lots of guests. And who's responsible for that? Not you. Who's responsible for making sure you have all these guests at an open house?
Relationship.
PR?
Well, the VP of PR, the VP of membership, the VPE, everybody in the club. Everybody should be participating, bringing guests into the open house. And you might even have a contest to see who brings in the most guests, and a giveaway and things like that. Make it fun. There's all sorts of ways to do it. And believe it or not, there are hundreds of thousands of times that clubs have done this, and they have posted online what works and what didn't work. So if you need ideas about how to do things successfully, there's plenty of other former Toastmasters and current Toastmasters who put that stuff out there on the internet, and you can find great documents, great information, great ideas. You just need good ideas and implement those ideas and get those guests there. Our job is to promote membership goals. How many of us are VPMs or VPEs and we don't even know what the goals of our members are? Like one goal of a new guest, if they join before January of this year, I want you to finish a level 1 by June 30th. Would you be willing to do that? Well, what is that about? Well, let me tell you. And then you get them to commit to it, and then you map it out. That means you have to give a speech every 6 weeks. Are you willing to do that? Do you have a mentor? And this is how but you have to know their goals. But this is how you have successful people who see them moving towards success. Any questions about how to promote membership goals?
No.
Okay. And you want to promote membership building contests because, again, people love having some sort of incentives. That's one of the reasons why our clubs earn district bucks, is because you can get Toastmasters pens, Toastmasters, all sorts of little knickknacks that are Toastmaster stuff that you can give away to people as a prize for the ones who, brought in the most people, or the ones who worked the hardest, or who did whatever. So come up with contests and follow up and keep track of guests. Too many guests fall between the cracks and then they never get called back again. They came to a meeting 2 months ago, they haven't gotten back to it yet, and they haven't been invited back. They haven't been encouraged to come back. So make sure those guests feel valued. Bring membership applications. I say have electronic membership applications that you can readily send out to people. And sometimes send it out as the sole part of your email. Instead of sending them a bunch of stuff, make that the primary. Hey, I'm sending you a membership application and I'd like a few minutes of your time to go over that with you so that when you're ready to join, you've got your application pretty much filled out. How many of you would agree that they'd more likely think of themselves as willing to join if you went that far to get them to fill out the membership application until they're ready?
Definitely.
Yeah. And it says you want them. Assist the vice president of public relations because their job is to find you members. They should be doing their jobs. Now, I know a lot of the other officers sometimes are doing their jobs and sometimes they're not doing their jobs. Their job is to keep putting out information everywhere they can to get potential guests so that you can turn those guests into members. It doesn't have to be you bringing in those guests. It should be the VP of public relations or other people in your club. And ensure the meeting information is correct, because nothing is worse than having a bad Zoom link or people thinking the meeting started at a certain time. Like one of my clubs, the Austin Pride Club, starts at 6:45, but we don't want people showing up at 6:45 because that can be messy if they're not already on Zoom and have checked everything to make sure it's good. Get there early. So we try to encourage people, try to get there around 6:30, but definitely before 6:45. So, and attend the club executive committee meetings. It's worth making time. We had a meeting the other day of our club executive committee in one of my clubs, and only 3 of us showed up out of the 7. Plus, we have a club coach. That would be 8 people, and only 3 was there. And I'm thinking, why are we having this meeting? This is not a good use of our time. So we need to have it when everyone's here. So let's find a meeting that works for everyone. And you might set that as a regular meeting where people can put it on their calendar so they make time for it, so they don't have to wonder, when is that meeting? Everybody should know how to put stuff on their calendars and make time for these things. But that's really the president's job there. But it is your job, if it's not being done well, to speak up. Because if you don't speak up, who will? Give them some constructive feedback on how to make sure everybody, as many people as possible, are at these executive committee meetings. And how often should we be having them?
Every 6 weeks.
Every 6 weeks. And if your club is really struggling, maybe even once a month. But if you're waiting 2 or 3 months, every 3 months is not enough unless you have an extremely successful club that has it down and they are running so well that it just works like clockwork. And I can tell you, I could probably list on one hand how many of my 25 clubs in Division K are that strong. All the rest of them are struggling. That's 20 clubs. So they need to be working on a plan for how to get stronger and implement those plans and check in and hold each other accountable. Always make sure to attend and vote at area council meetings. So when we have council meetings, we want to make decisions sometimes about things that are going on in your area, we need your representation. It's not just the president and the VPE. Anyone from your club has a voice that is valid to be able to influence how your area is being run, like your area contests and things like that. Arrange for a replacement or assistant. So, Michael, when should you be thinking about who's going to be the VPM when y'all have the elections in June? When should you be thinking about that?
I'm already working with somebody.
I love it. You should already be working with somebody that you say, I've got you lined up as the next VPM. That's a great way to do it. Thank you, Michael. That is excellence. Prepare for your successor for office. Make sure they know how to do this stuff, and they're helping you do this stuff so they will know when they start on July 1st. Because they've got a lot of work to do starting in July. Organize and conduct membership contests. We've got the contest coming up. Now, a club doesn't have to have a club contest. You can just nominate people. But I will tell you, only half of our whole clubs, like in an area that has 5 or 6 clubs, of those in my division, only 3 of them are even sending contestants to the contest. They don't even have to have a contest. So all they have to do is just say, who wants to give a speech at the area contest? That's all it takes. It's easy to do. So it's just a matter of, being proactive. Your club doesn't even have to be strong and have lots of people, but you do have to have at least 8 members though to be able to do that, to participate in the club contest. 8 active paid members. So, and in your meetings, always report on the club membership, where we're at, where we need to be, and what's our plan to get there. So you should know as the VPM, what's your plan for making sure your club will be stronger as of June 30th. Like the 2 clubs I'm in, all are well over 5 points. Some of them have 6 or 7 points, but their membership is abysmal. And one of the clubs, my morning club, they haven't brought in a new person in 6 months. Is that a concern? It's a big concern. And it's like, what's going on? So we've even had visitors. So you got to turn those visitors in, but you got to get the guests first, and then you got to turn them into members. So it's all about the how, the when, the who, the what for responsibilities. So we're going to talk a little bit about the responsibilities. Questions you'll want to answer: how will you fulfill your responsibilities, which is getting your club membership up to 20 or more? When will each action be completed? Because if you don't have a timeline of when you're going to complete it, you can sit around saying, yeah, I have this idea, but you can easily have, how many of you have seen that are surprised even that we're already past mid-February of the new year? How quickly does this year move?
Yeah.
You have to stay on top of yourself and hold yourself accountable. Yeah, Michael, you were going to say something?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. You want to know, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the idea of SMART goals, SMART. It's not a good goal if it's not specific, if it's not measurable, if it's not achievable. It's got to be achievable. So if you're at 8 members right now, you're not going to have 20 members by June 30th unless there's some miracle plan you've got. But you don't have to have that. You only need to have 3 more than the base to qualify for the Distinguished Club Program. But what's your plan? It also has to be relevant to, is what you're doing going to get those results? Because if what you're doing is not going to get the results, it's not a good plan. And it needs to have a timetable. Where are you going to be 2 months from now? Where are you going to be 3 months from now? Where are you going to be in May? And then in June, you've got 30 days to solve whatever problems you have not solved up until now. Who's going to help you? And what materials and resources can you use to get this done? And there's lots of resources out there, a tremendous amount. And we don't even have time to get into how many resources there are, but let me know if you need resources. Contact me and I will get you whatever resources you need if you need something. But you can attend the district-sponsored club officer trainings. That's what this is. Read up on materials. There's lots of great materials just on the district website, tmd55.org, just about membership. I think there's 5 or 6 great big resources, including a booklet of, here's the club officer booklet for the vice president of membership. It's 26 pages. And that's not even all the resources that are out there, but it's an excellent resource. Meet with the outgoing people who've had the experience. What lessons did they learn? And how you can improve. So another thing, conduct surveys on on how well the club is doing. That Moments of Truth program measures how successful your club is doing as measured by the DCP. Again, create those welcome kits, especially electronic ones if you could, and order any required materials that you might need to get to people. A couple resources that are in the manual for the Vice President of Membership. These are some of them. Success 101, How to Have Contests, the Distinguished Club Program, the Club Success Program, all these different things. But Toastmasters.org has so many wonderful resources. It can be overwhelming though. So come to me if you need specific resources and I can help you. So does anybody have any questions? I know that's a lot of information, but it's a learning process. It's not about being perfect, but it's about noticing what's missing, what is not happening, and how can you get yourself back on board and work with your clubs, work with the president, work with us all to help support you in being successful. Your job is one of the most important of all the jobs in a Toastmasters club, because without members who are happy, they will leave. So membership retention is key, and bringing in new members, because no matter how good your club is, the turnover is over 50% for most clubs. So no matter what, because lives get busy, jobs change, priorities change, and thus people stop coming to meetings for that. And your job is to see what you can do to keep them coming back and keep them moving forward, so they see the value that we bring and that we can continue to support them in making that happen so that we can build strong clubs. So I hope you guys have had some fun. I hope this has been helpful. I've recorded this and I'm happy to share this with you. And if anyone else is interested in this, I'm happy to actually have you guys even contact me directly. But I'm Bart Loeser. I've been a vice president of membership many, many times for many clubs. I've been a coach many times. I've been president many times. I've been the VPE. I've been them all. And the VPM has always been my favorite job because I'm a bit of an extrovert and I love connecting with people. So, and if you don't connect well with people, will they feel a sense of, connection to the club if we don't connect with them?
Nope.
And it's our job to inspire the rest of people in our clubs to connect with everyone else as well. So I hope you guys have had fun. It's been a pleasure working with y'all. I'm right within time. We got 1 minute left. Any questions at this point?
Thanks very much, Bart. This was very enjoyable.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
think you did a really good job.
I'm passionate about this work because if you invest in what it takes to be an excellent VPM, you can succeed in any area where you have to work with other people, because it's all about building those relationships. People don't follow unless they see what's in it for them, and our job is give them the reason to want to follow this program. What's in it for them to follow this program? We've shown them the value. So call me if you have any questions. I'm easy to reach. Everybody in Toastmasters knows how to find me, but again, it's tmbartloeser@gmail.com. And I want you all to be successful. So go to your dashboards in the next few days and see what you need to do. And if you need help, call me if you don't know what to do. I'd be happy to help you with being successful. So thank you all.
Thank you,
Thanks
Bart.
very much.
Thank you,
All right.
Bart. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Mhm.
Hola.